Welcome.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
You're listening to The Muddy Roofs.
Hey, horn.
This is Muddy Roots.
Hit that like button.
You know what time it is. What time?
Let's take a cut. So, Daniel, welcome to the podcast. So, guys, this is one of our buddies, Daniel. He is the owner of a business, Birdies Golf Lounge.
Nailed it.
You want to tell us a little bit about Birdies? You can kind of promote yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I'll take a second here.
Plug it in.
Yeah, Birdies Golf Lounge. It's which camera should I look at? There's so many of them. Birdies Golf Lounge. It's an indoor golf facility. We have 5 different bays down here in St. George. We have another facility we just opened up in Cedar. That one has 4 bays. We do a lot of leagues and tournaments, so it's a little different than a lot of the indoor facilities or indoor golf facilities that you see. Where those ones you can go and train. Obviously, you can do that. You can do that with us as well. But we do a lot of different events, tournaments, leagues, little challenges. So, yeah.
Your guys' league nights are pretty fun, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You guys get a pretty good turnout to those.
They're a blast. So our goal is pressure golf. The regular golfer doesn't get to feel that adrenaline, that pressure, the heart rate speed up when you have to hit a shot or something. And so our leagues, that's our goal. It's pressure golf. Our tournaments, pressure golf. It's a lot of fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's right. I mean, rarely ever is the average golfer getting their stakes raised to a point of increased heartbeat to where it's like the shot matters. Yeah. I like that. You said that you guys opened up a location in Cedar. How long has that been open? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So we've been open about 3 months in Cedar.
Okay,
so
pretty new.
Pretty new. Yeah, we've got different simulators up there still with True Golf. They're brand new simulators that have just come out, brand new tracking systems, but we're going to be putting them in the St. George location here soon, but they're awesome. The feedback's awesome. You've hit on them. You came up and helped us take care of some building issues, so that was huge.
No, yeah, so Birdies is actually super fun. So I've been to their league night. And yeah, it's pretty intense. I mean, I'm not one of those guys who takes it super serious, but there's some guys that you're down by 1 stroke and you're at hole 9 and you got to like make a shot. Some guys are getting super intense, bro. Like no talking in swings and all that. Like it's like, because that's what I like about Birdies is it feels a little bit more casual. You have the concessions almost in the back where you have like your food and drinks. I don't know, dude. It's just a vibe over there.
Yeah, it's honestly a lot of fun. I think one of the biggest aspects, too, is for people that maybe are just picking up golf. So in all reality, like 2 years ago, I was picking up golf. I was just getting into it, or 3 years ago maybe now.
Yeah.
And going out on a golf course, paying to play on a course, and then pays to play when I can't hit the ball, it's so stressful. It's like, I'm just going to pick up my ball. There's people on the tee box waiting for me. Yeah. I don't want them to see me take 17 strokes at this ball. And so it's a great place to come learn. But then if you're already into golf, it's a great place to come feel that pressure too. So a lot of fun.
Well, then your guys' simulators also give you like ball speed and your striking angle and all that. And so it helps those good golfers really dial in their game.
Yeah.
I remember at the very beginning, your simulators were a little bit boosted, right?
Oh,
because I thought I was Hercules driving, bro. I was driving like
still do.
I was driving like 380 on the simulators. I was like, I'm the man, bro. And then he fixed them, and now it's back down to 280.
I know. Yeah, we actually had a big issue for like the first 3 months, which was busy because we opened right before the summer. We opened in May, and so we were packed. And I wasn't a good enough golfer to know what my distances were, so I wasn't sure what it should be. But turned out we finally got True Golf to admit that at their commercial facilities, they actually juiced their sims a little bit because people like to hit the ball further. And I was like, what are we doing? No, that eliminates any validity at our place. Like, you need it to be accurate. You need to be able to know if I pull a 7-iron here, I can go outside and pull that same club and hit that same exact shot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was getting stuck on the course because I was over at Birdies, bro, like every week, couple times a week. Dude. So I go on the course, it's like a 200 par 3, and I'm like, okay, perfect 7-iron, and I end up like 20 yards short, and I'm like, oh, the course is fake, dude. Like, blaming it on the course versus the simulator.
Yeah, I'm glad those days are over.
Oh, dude, it was fun. Me and Bajo would go do like speed training. You remember that? We would go in and do long drive and just work on speed and just crush the ball.
You guys were getting your swing speed up, I think, above 120 miles per hour, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was
insane.
wild. It's crazy.
Bro, well, we used to be big into golf. We used to go quite a bit. I know you've been quite a bit.
Yeah, I love golf. I love golfing.
Do you still go like once a week? How often are you going?
Oh yeah, I try to go as much as I can. Just went yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I wish I could go more. But
When I grow up, I'm gonna be like you. Do you golf quite a bit still?
I haven't. I think the last time I went was that tournament we did for
out at Sky
Contempo
Mountain.
Town.
Yep.
Was it
No,
Sky Mountain? No.
it was Sunbrook.
Yep, Sunbrook.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you remember all this. Keep going.
that was I didn't do good, but I had fun. That was a lot of fun.
Dude, we had a lot of fun. So it was me, this dude, and then two of our other buddies in a 4-man scramble. And hey, we broke par. Or no, we got par.
I think we got par.
And I honestly,
Hey,
it was super surprising
feel
with
good
our
about
group and the things we were doing on the course. It was a good time.
Yeah, but I love golf, man. What are your average like?
my average scores. Oh, I'll be honest.
74?
Okay, I will
Right.
say, before this pod, you asked me anything off the table. I said no, but my golf scores. I don't want the world knowing the owner of Birdies Golf Lounge shoots like mid 80s.
That's funny. Okay,
Bro, mid 80s is good, dude. If I could shoot mid 80s again, I would be like a happy man.
Yeah,
honestly, really. I think there's a difference between like, do you go golfing a lot and are you good at golfing? Like, I enjoy it, I really
Totally.
do, but it doesn't take much for me to have fun. I'll be out there 15 strokes over and be like,
Oh, yeah.
that was a blast.
Yeah.
feel great about it for sure.
See, yeah, I'd even be happy with 15 strokes at this point. Because there was a time when we were going consistently, dude. I was in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
Because what your best scores, I remember your and I's best scores like right by each other.
Yeah,
And I was consistently like around that mark, like low 90s, high 80s. I was like, oh, heck yeah. Then I went after not going for a few months, bro. I stopped keeping track. I probably shot in the 110s, dude. It was just bad.
yeah.
Also, those things you got to stay committed or you lose it so fast.
I was gonna say you lose it. It seems like you lose it real quick. And the more often you play, now all those like real good golfers are gonna see this and be like, he's totally wrong. But the more often you play, then the shorter stint you go without playing, all of a sudden you feel like you've lost it. Obviously, it comes back pretty quick. But I
Yeah.
feel like when I was playing 3 times a week, I'd go 2 weeks without playing, and it was like, oh, how do I swing my club? Like, which is ridiculous, I know, but I don't know. It's a mental game for sure.
The mental part is crazy because you're way more consistent because
Yeah.
you think logically. That I'm out there, we go all the time, and
Yeah.
he's just like, just nice and easy every shot. I'm like, let's go for green every time.
You're like, do you think I can drive this? I know it's over the house,
yeah.
but do you think I can drive this? No. Watch.
And then, so that's why on our scorecard, I'll beat him sometimes, and then he just beats me on every other hole. Like, I'll beat him 1 or 2 times on the course.
High risk, high reward. I like
Exactly.
it. That's how you live your life.
That is how I live my life, and it's not doing too great right now,
I love it.
So speaking of birdies, process of starting birdies, how did that go down? I know birdies has been open a year or what?
Year and a half.
Year and a half
For St. George, and then the 3 months for Cedar, yeah.
So how did that go about? Because I knew a little bit about you before, so a little bit of backstory. I knew Daniel. What was that? That was like 3 years ago, right before you moved to Texas. I met you one time. You moved to
Yeah,
Texas.
crazy.
You went and did some stuff over there. We had similar friends. So when you came back, we obviously reconnected. And I heard that you were very much an entrepreneur, trying to do all these business ideas. And finally, Birdies was the one that stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, one note on that, what you just said, tried all these business ideas. That's exactly what I did. I think I've done like 8 different businesses. This is the first one that's like brick and mortar, but man, you just got to keep going. You got to just push aside the ones that, oh, that didn't work. Well, let's keep going to the next one. So yeah, I wasn't into golf when I headed to Texas. I went to Texas to do an electrophysiology program, just cardiac program. to
Thank you
get
for-
in the job.
Thank you for clarifying, because that was a good sized word right
We
there.
looked at each other like, yo.
We know what that is, right?
Yeah, this program just to get the job I wanted back here, and I got the job up in Salt Lake, and the doctors I was working with, they liked golfing, and so I was like, oh, okay. So we went a few times, and I realized like, oh my gosh, like I cannot go golfing with these guys because I don't know how to hit the ball. So I started taking lessons. I got 3 lessons on a simulator, and I was hitting on a simulator, and I was like, oh, this is sweet. Like, gives you so much feedback. I'm improving pretty quick. And so I was coming down here because I wanted to move back down here and transfer down here. And I went to hit the driving range. This is really all that did it for me. I went to hit the driving range over at Southgate. And it was like 4:30 p.m. in the winter. Sun goes down earlier, but not till like 6. And they were closed. And I was like, you guys are closed at 4:30? Like, you can't hit balls if you work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday during the winter. This is crazy to me. And so driving home that weekend, driving back up north, in my head, I was just like, there's something there. Like, maybe I need to open a lit up driving range, like, so people can actually go hit after work, you know? And then I ended on that same drive. I kept going, and I ended on a indoor driving range. I'll do an indoor driving range on simulators. And so started looking into it, and that was it. Just so while I lived up in Salt Lake, I was finding a commercial space down here, and that was a rough experience, but we got through it. I think we had like 2 different spaces we lost, or 3 different spaces we lost, and then we finally got the one we got, which in all reality I think was the right one for us. I'm glad we've got the one we're at. But yeah, that's what prompted me or pushed me gave me the idea to open Birdies. I am by no means an incredible golfer. It's more of a businessman. You know, I looked at it, it made sense to me. St. George is a big golf mecca, and so
Huge.
Yeah.
So went from there.
Which is surprising that, and it's true, but it's surprising that they don't have driving ranges open and available as big as golf is down here. Especially like retired people that are around here. It's a huge retirement area.
Yeah.
Seems a little weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know other people would say I'm wrong for doing this. Now they have like big shots. You can go hit balls over there at night, which is great. I think that's awesome. It's obviously a different market from us. But yeah, so that's good. St. George is growing. St. George is getting more stuff available. So
Yeah, well, you're always going to have competitors, but again, it's just a different market. I feel like over there is like a college and high school kids or guys who don't know how to play golf but just want to go and swing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Versus you, I mean, I like yours. It's a good family atmosphere. We actually said this in your promotion video, but I've taken my kids over there and they've played the games on. They played all the mini games over there. My son, that's actually where he like developed a love for golf.
yeah,
And he has clubs, and he still like loves to take them out and just hit off the grass and stuff like that. So I remember he was always super stoked for birdies. That was his favorite. And then my daughters, they started dancing at a ballet thing right underneath.
right underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, downstairs.
So every now and then he would go in and do that. So I mean, your market it's cool because I feel like you're pretty versatile and all that. But what I was going to ask you next is you talked a little bit about few buildings. This was your second building. There's a lot of hoops. There's a lot of hurdles you got to get over. What was your mentality to keep driving, keep pushing, and keep going so that you can make Birdies what it is now?
Yeah, good question. I look back and it's funny because I'm happy with where we're at, right? I want to clarify before I go into this. But I look back and I'm like, if I knew how tough all of this was going to be, would I do it again? And I don't know if I would have done it, which is crazy. Would I do it again with where we're at now? Yes. But like, while I was going through this, I'm looking back at all the things we had done and I'm just like, if I had known how hard it was going to be before I did it, I don't know if I could have gotten myself to do it. And so with what keeps you pushing forward and going stronger, I guess, and just consistent is is not thinking about how hard it's going to be, just thinking about what needs to be done, right? Just what's the next step? What do I need to do next? Problems are going to arise. We'll deal with them then. It was just, if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying different businesses, I think you build this ability to manage problems. That's truly, it's figuring out problems. You get really good at problem solving, and that's it. I mean, the rest other people can do, but I think the ability to just accept something, not react, not overreact, don't have too high of highs, don't have too low of lows, just this middle line of, oh yeah, maybe that's not a great thing for us, but let's figure it out, you know? So yeah, I think just staying consistent, trying not to get too excited about one thing when things go well, and not getting too down about other things when you don't get your properties. So we went through two different spaces and then got our third one. And during the time when I was actually on the phone with our agent representing us for the spaces, and I think I had gotten so stressed out, and then he let me know that we had lost the building, and I kid you not, I'm on the phone with him, and I was so stressed that all I remember is waking up. I was on the phone. I was on the phone to him, and I just remember waking up. It's dark outside. I look down at my phone, and like he's obviously hung up, and I've got text messages from him, and he's like, "Hey, like, are you okay? You have a heart attack? Like, let me know you're good." I think I just passed out. I think I was sitting on the couch talking to him, and it kind of crazy, but yeah, things you let things seem really bad, but like the more you do it, the better you get at just being okay, you know.
Well, that's a huge skill though, is like being more of a problem solver than a problem finder. Like I've heard that term before. Like some people would rather see problems and be like, well, can't do it. They use it as an excuse, right?
Yeah.
Business owners, you have to see that and you're like, well, I got to figure out a way to get over it, or the business is not going to do it like what I want it to do.
Yeah.
Right. Even with staying resilient, I mean, you're going to hear 5-6 no's before you get that yes, like with your buildings, and you got to be your first supporter. You got to be your just kind of in a sense, you just got to be there for yourself in all aspects when it comes to hearing those no's, because if you let that get to you, like you're saying, keeping that mentality, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big factor that I really I really preach now is make a decision and move on. I know so many people that will analyze and analyze and analyze, and they're incredibly smart people. And so the analyzing they're doing, or the analysis they're doing, I'm sure it's good, you know, it's good to look at that stuff, but we call it
analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Paralysis by analysis. Yep. You gotta lay off analyzing everything. Take a good look and move on.
Make your best guess and go with it.
Yep.
And if something negative comes, you just gotta
problem solve.
Sidestep and make it work.
Yep.
See, I feel like the younger generations aren't understanding that too great, to be honest. I feel like I see more and more people just not understand how to think, how to critically think, how to problem solve and move on. And I've thought, me and my wife have talked about that a lot. Like, how did we get so lucky that just kind of comes naturally? And I honestly feel that sports helped me out a lot with that. My high school football team was not a very good football team. And so when problems happen and a D lineman's in your face right at the snap of the ball, you have to either make a move or you just be an average player who gets sacked. Yeah. And so I've thought a lot about how do you teach people that skill of critical thinking, problem solving, not making excuses just because you're dealt a crappy hand or whatever.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for our viewers who are in that phase of maybe they're in the analysis paralysis, or maybe they're just making too many excuses, or...
Yeah, really being able to think critically. I think I think a lot of that work is done before the problem comes, right? So, like, take your football example. You can't make that move unless you're in the gym, you're working hard, you're working on your moves, you're at practice, you're running through all these different scenarios. And so you're putting the time and effort in. So when that problem comes, you can make your move, right? And so thinking critically, I think, doesn't just happen when a problem arises. You're always thinking critically. You start looking at things differently. You recognize that perception, there's so many different perceptions in this world. You know, we walk into a business and for us, we assume our perception is this business is thriving and killing it, and then you have someone else that walks in and their perception is, I wonder what their cost is. I wonder which I think you have that a lot, right? You walk into a place and you're like, I wonder how much they can do in a day. How many days are they open in a month? I wonder what their rent, what's their square footage here. And so being able to start asking those questions of like your kids, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think this is costing? What do you think? I think just starts to develop their mind to have a different perception, right? Or perspective. It allows them to start looking at things analytically. It starts allowing them to think more critically about things. And then I think allowing them to have, on any topic, allowing them to have an opinion, but then see if they can like fight for the opposing opinion.
Oh, okay.
The other side.
I like that devil's advocate almost.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife hates it. Devil's advocate. That's a good way to say it. My wife hates it. She says I'm always playing devil's advocate. But I think there's a true skill set found in playing devil's advocate, even for yourself.
I agree.
If I believe, even in politics, right? If I believe this to be true, or I believe this is the best route, but then I play devil's advocate with myself, I'm either gonna find that I was wrong, or I'm gonna find that I was right, and I've figured out even better positions purely because I've now looked at the other side, right? And so I think we get younger generations. I think we get too into not surrounding ourselves with people with differing opinions. I think we get too into just listening to ourselves, wanting to hear ourselves talk, not listening to other people or being open. So yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer, but I mean, I think a lot of it is just practicing those in your daily lives on regular things.
Well, no, I think that's huge though, because we've seen it obviously in politics. You got the right wing, the left wing, and they won't even hear each other. They don't even consider the other people's views. You get people who are LDS and who are non-LDS, and the non-LDS are like, it's a cult, and then they won't even look into the church, right, or they look into certain aspects of the church. And so I think that's more in like every aspect of life, like you were saying. So getting, like you were just saying with the kids and stuff, like challenging their beliefs on everything and helping them to see the opposing side is actually huge. I actually like that a lot.
I also like, what you said about you shouldn't necessarily just use your critical thinking in moments that are critical, but expanding and fine-tuning your critical thinking by thinking differently. Opening up your perspective and doing that almost on a daily basis will definitely fine-tune those skills for you. I think that's huge.
Yeah. And another thing I liked that you said was that you believe being a good critical thinker, making good calls, doesn't happen when the call is made. It happens in the preparation before the call. So, I mean, we had a football game yesterday, first round of state playoffs. We lost, and I heard just people saying, oh, this coach sucked. And I'm like, okay, maybe he did in one game.
Right.
But we're going to just blame the whole season ending on one guy. Like,
right.
What could have we done better to prepare ourselves for this moment, right? So I think a lot of people get so stuck on the moment that they forget all the preparation beforehand. Like, okay, did we train hard enough? Was our off season good enough? Did we put our kids in good spots so that they could win the game, like all season long? Because if you look at it, if you do that and we think about our off season, yeah, it was good. Was it great? I don't know. You could argue either way. A season comes and we play good. We lost a lot of games that we should have won. So first round of playoffs come, we have to play a better team. But if we win those regular season games, then we play a not as good team, so we probably win first round, right?
Right.
But I think a lot of people get stuck on the moment, and it's like, okay, but rewind. Think about the preparation that we did to get to this moment, and did we do enough? Yes or no?
Right. And right there, you're describing, or you're critically thinking, right? Like, not many people want to look back and think, is this partially our fault? You know, is this partially on us? When we opened Birdies, we had it was probably a 15%, maybe 20% decline in our revenue when Big Shots opened.
Yep.
And I thought, like, it's easy to just be like, oh, Big Shots open. Like, we lost people, right? But really so we had to look at our market and say, really, what's our market? What are we pushing for? Because usually you can find that you're not doing something right. And I think that was the case with us. And so looking at your football team, it's like, it's way too easy to just say the coach wasn't good or this wasn't good. But it's like, you had all these events beforehand that put you in this place. Mm-hmm. What happened there? And the people that can look back and say, what happened here? How did we handle this? Could we handle this better? Are the ones that are going to improve next year, right? The people that just say, coach's fault.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the exact same position.
It's too easy to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's way too easy. And once you start doing that, you develop a culture of doing that. So then people just feed off of it. And so have you had any struggles with that with employees? Have you had to train, like, because culture is a big thing with the company. Have you had any problems with the culture at Birdies? Obviously, we don't need to call names or anything.
Absolutely.
But any particular instances that you had to work through, and how did you get through some of those culture?
I mean, yeah, obviously, working at Birdies we just have a bunch of part-time staff because they're all in school, either college or high school. And so you're getting into a totally different culture now, right? A different generation of people raised very differently. Their community is very different. Just everything about them is very different. How they function is very different. And so there's been a lot of things that I've struggled with on preparing them for. And we have a staff meeting once every month, and my manager and I, this last staff meeting, we kind of changed what we did, and we started doing some other things different, and we realized how we were failing them. And so I think your question of issues with staff, I'd actually say it's issues with us.
I like that.
Recognizing what our staff needed, because we have in our minds the way it should be done, but that's if we're talking with other people that are just like us, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. And so I think it was a good wake-up call for us in that meeting to realize we've been wasting their time, we've been wasting our time. We need to take a different approach because these they're different. The culture is different. And are we really going to be able to change that culture? Probably not. Are we going to be able to change how we approach that culture and approach the teaching? Probably. That's probably going to yield better results, I'd imagine. So, yeah, the issue's been with us. But it's definitely been a transition working with younger people.
So I really like some of the terminology you were just using as far as, like, when someone isn't getting your vision, it's not their fault. It's your fault for not delivering the message clearly or aligning your guys' views, because it's tough. I mean, typically as humans, we just envision that we all think the same. So I have naturally, when I'm talking to Gage or talking to Ryan or talking to you, I'm like, okay, they see what I'm seeing. Right. But that's not the case. And so there's a book that I've read. I actually really like it. It's called Extreme Ownership. Great book for business owners. And it talks a lot about that, where it's always your fault. Whether you win or lose is your fault. And I think that's a huge trait that a lot of people need to incorporate if they're going to try to be an entrepreneur, if they're going to try to be a football coach, if they're going to try to be a dad. All these things, if you're trying to be successful in anything, you got to realize it's always your fault. And so I love how you were using that terminology of like, well, there was some stuff we didn't feel like as managers we were delivering the message clearly enough, and so we adjusted and we're gonna move forward with it. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And even you just throwing it out there as even for a football coach, everyone says it's, if you take extreme ownership, if you have every single person on that football team, instead of saying, oh, coach wasn't doing this or coach wasn't doing that or the quarterback wasn't doing this or they weren't doing that, if every single person on that football team said, I could have done something different, I could have done something better, I guarantee next year, every single one of them, if they felt that extreme ownership, if they felt this is on me, I should have done better, they're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, right?
Outcome would change drastically.
Yeah.
And also it because part of extreme ownership isn't just always looking at yourself. Like it is looking up to yourself and making sure you're doing better, but also being a leader is holding other people accountable. So let's say the quarterback throws for 500 yards, 6 touchdowns, and they still lose. His job then is to, yes, critique his play, get better, but then also, also hold the defense accountable. Be like, hey, this practice, we need to go harder. You have to lead some of those people that are a little bit lacking to get up to your level. And like you said, when you all do that, have the extreme ownership, leaps and bounds difference. Like you will be just such a more dominant team, such a more dominant company, a more dominant family. Mm-hmm. When you have, and what's crazy is that I feel like it only takes one person to start the culture. As soon as one person, and usually it has to be the CEO. If it's a company or if it's a family, it has to be the father or the mother, whoever the more dominant role model is. Yeah. But if you can have one person start that, it's almost contagious because I remember I didn't have complete extreme ownership. Like, yes, I had that, but I worked for a man who he had extreme ownership. And when I would mess up, he would take the blame for it all the time. And I remember being like, what the heck? Builders would call him. So I used to do construction. Builders would call him, get pissed about a job that I messed up on. And he'd say, I'm sorry, I will get it fixed. And instead of being, I'm so sorry, I have some crappy guys out there working for me or anything like that. I remember hearing that and I'm like, that's dope. Like that's what I want to do. That's how you should lead. That's how people will actually follow you, because if you're not that guy, no one wants to like listen to you if all you're gonna do is turn around behind their back and be like, yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
So I think it's huge. And I for real, it starts with one major key player and then a few of the, guys underneath him will pick that up, and it's contagious. It's a very fun atmosphere when everyone just has that extreme ownership.
Absolutely. So real quick, I actually have a question for you guys. I know you guys usually ask the questions, but obviously we've known each other for a while now, way longer now.
Yeah, probably like 5 years. Yeah.
But when you told me you guys were starting a podcast, like I hear from a lot of people, hey, we're doing this, hey, we're doing this, hey, we're starting this. And that's great, right? But you guys have really followed through. You're coming up on 40 episodes. Mm-hmm. Tell me, I'm curious to kind of hear, and maybe this is weird to talk about on your pod, but to like, I'm curious about the difficulties in starting that up, some issues you found within yourselves, within each other. I mean, there had to be some, right? And how you got past all that.
You want to answer that first?
Yeah, no, we're perfect. We off the jump. Off jump,
it was
we just
easy,
knew
bro.
what we were doing.
I knew it.
No, I mean, you can ask all 4 of us that do this normally and get 4 different answers, but I think some of the things that I've noticed was technical issues. Like I feel like that was I work in the tech industry, and even for me, this is a technical side that I did not have any experience in, recording, cameras, lighting, stuff like that I felt like in our preparation phase, we knew what we needed to do, but actually doing it, I mean, there was a lot of trial and error. We met during our promotional week. We met every day that week, recorded, edited, posted, recorded, edited, posted, because we just couldn't get things down in advance. And it ended up being like, and we wanted it to be good. We wanted it to be quality content. So we were like, not good enough. It's not good enough. It's like, we need to tweak this a little bit more until we felt comfortable to do it. And at that time, we already set this date on Instagram that we were going to post. And so we're like, hey, well, we need to abide by it. And so I felt like a lot of the technical things for us was a big hurdle that we had to leap over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of echoing what he said, I actually was very impressed with our commitment. Because like you said, everyone says, oh yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
10 years later, they're not doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
6 months later, they're not doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly.
It was so random. I was hanging out at Ryan's house, one of our other co-hosts, and he just brought it up out of the whim. Hey, dude, we should do a podcast. We already mix a lot. We hang out. We think we're pretty funny. So we're like, we have some good conversations. So it's like, shoot, let's throw some mics up, some cameras up, and let's see if other people enjoy what we're talking about or if we are not that cool. But
yeah.
So it started off with that. And so me, Ryan, and Rob, we were all hanging out. So then I literally said, okay, if you guys are about it, I'm about it. So let's meet Saturday. So Saturday we met at our house. We're talking, hey, who should we bring on? The only name that we all agreed on was Gage. So we texted him. Somehow he was available that night. So he shot over that night. We hung out and we just started the blueprint. And one of the hurdles that I felt too was, yes, the technical was hard, but also working with a team to start a business, like being partners is a little bit different than starting it by yourself. Because by yourself, you have your vision, you execute your vision, and that's it. Like you can kind of just do what you want to do. But when you have 3 other dudes, so there's a group of 4 of you trying to start a business together, it's like your meetings have to be more centered around the vision and centered around, okay, this is what we need to do as a group collectively. Here's your parts, here's your parts, here's your parts. And then you can hold each other accountable. Because that's one great thing about having a group is you don't have to do it all by yourself. So it's like, Rob, can you look up what equipment is best? Ryan, can you look up best posting strategies? Gage, can you look up the best photo or the editing software that we should use? Stuff like that. So when you divide and conquer, it seems easier, but then if your visions aren't aligned and you come back to that meeting, it is super tough. So that's one thing I noticed at the beginning. It felt easy to just divide, and then maybe one person or 2 people were like not doing it the way that 2 other people were doing it. So there's a little bit of conflict there. So working through that was a little rough. Did you feel the same way, kind of?
Yeah, in a sense. But more so in the reason why we decided that we would be a good fit and a good group is because we felt like we could trust each other. We felt like we could hold each other accountable and just kind of call each other out if there's anything that we needed to call each other out on without it getting to a point of an escalated state.
Yep.
And I feel like part of it was that vision that some of us had, some of us didn't, and we kind of we had to have a sit down to where it was like, hey, what are we working towards? What are we all trying to? Because if we can come to that conclusion together, we all have that same mindset. We can go ahead and do other things and then move forward as a unit. And I think, I did recognize that a little early on.
Yeah,
but we adjusted.
Yeah, it was fun. So have you ever? There's a book called Traction. It's a business book, and it's a series. Anyway, part of it, when I was working at a previous AC company, actually, I work for them again now in a different department, but I'm back over there.
Yeah.
But we would do a lot of trainings through this book to work on, the systems of a company and the structure of a company. And so I took a lot of that and put it into our thing. And so one of the things we did early on was called our People Analyzer tool. So what we did is we set up core values. And so we have our core values being honest, trustworthy, humble but confident. And that's just a few of them, right?
Yeah.
Knowledgeable is one of them. And so we listed all of our core values on an Excel document. And then your names go down the side. And then we graded each other how we thought you were at that core value. And then
Interesting.
And so what we would do is we do a plus, minus, or a plus, a minus, and a plus minus. So a plus is like majority of the time, yeah. Plus minus is like some like you're 50-50. Minus is like you're not really doing that a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so I remember the very first one we did, it was kind of awkward to like
Oh,
call
it
each
was
other
super
out.
awkward.
And
I love it.
we literally just sat across the table and we tried to do it anonymously.
I think that's what made it worse.
We
There's
tried to-
4 of you.
Yeah.
So we tried to do it anonymously, but then when you get your grade, we're like, okay, now we have to explain why you got the grade,
And
then
who
it's
gave
like,
it?
and so then we're all like, well, it was me. I gave you this one, okay? So it was honestly super cool, super fun to do that. Yeah, it was a little awkward. I mean, I had been in that situation already with my previous company, so it was a little bit easier that way.
Right.
But especially where it's your buddies, that was tough, dude, because we all hang out anyway.
Yeah.
So then you have to look across the table and be like, Gage, you're not doing X, Y, Z. And you have to just be cool with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we did that early on. That was a huge step for us.
That's really cool. I love hearing that because that's the stuff that people don't get to know, right? Like they just assume you guys are friends and everything's just smooth sailing, right? But
Yep.
but you mentioned this early on, like for me, I started Birdies by myself. And there's pros and cons to both. Pro is my vision is my vision. No one is changing it. I get to say what I want to do and that's what we do, right? Con, maybe my vision's not the best. In fact, I'll tell you my vision wasn't the best, right?
Fair point.
Like when we first opened, we had a lot of people asking if we had memberships. And I was like, no, we're not a membership facility. In my mind, I was like, we're not a membership facility. Other places do memberships. We're open to the public. Anyone can come anytime they want, well, while we're open, right? And after about 9 or 7 months, I realized we should be a hybrid. Like there's people that come plenty. It makes sense that they have a membership. And then I realized the consistency of that money, right? The monthly recurring revenue, having that instead of up and down. So like our good season is summer and then winter, right? But like right now, it's
Perfect weather outside.
perfect weather outside. I'll bet you could go to Birdies and have the facility to yourself. And so it's like those ebbs and flows. I'm realizing, oh my gosh, like bad call on my part. And so there's pros and cons to it. But then I look at you guys and it's like, I think it's harder to make it work with a team of 4 than 1. But if you get past the initial start, if you can grow together like this, like you brought this, implemented this strategy to your group where you gave grades and then had to have those tough discussions up front, I think if you can get past that, all of a sudden you're way more likely to succeed than somebody by themselves going, right?
Yep.
Like there's pros and cons to all of it, but now your visions, like you guys talked about, your visions may not align, and so you have to have those conversations. But now you have input from 4 different minds, and you come together on a vision. Hopefully you come together on a vision, right? If you don't, then maybe this thing falls apart. But if you're able to get past all that beginning stuff, it's like, sweet, this is going to be executed well. This is going to be great. And so hearing from you guys and hearing that like you gave grades like that to your friends sitting across the table, that would be so awkward for so many people.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the most vital steps in where you guys are now. Like, because that gave everyone the understanding that I will give you my honest opinion pertaining to the pod. Mm-hmm. But outside of this, I love you. We're friends.
Right.
We're still good. And that culture, you just added to that culture, right? You created that culture of we can keep each other accountable. We can tell them when that grade is slipping. We can tell them when their dedication is slipping. So it was just interesting to me because for me, it was myself. I just had to keep myself motivated. But it was easy because what I wanted went, right? And so it's just interesting to hear how you guys handled. I think there's massive skill sets that you're obtaining by working through all these things. And you guys have been doing this now for how many weeks? I guess it's a pod a week, right?
Yeah.
So, holy, wow. So almost 40 weeks. And I'm sure a lot of work before then too.
Oh yeah, we started we tracked meeting notes. That's another thing that I had in my arsenal was a template of our schedules for meetings. And so we would get in, we'd do like good news, and then we'd just dive right into the topic. So like, this is what we were supposed to do, work on this week. And then, so we'd, answer to our homework assignments. Hey, did you get X, Y, Z done? If yes, cool. If no, let's make sure we talk about it later. Talk about homework. And then we would talk about upcoming assignments. Like, hey, this is like some stuff that needs to get done. And then at the very end, we'd give homework assignments. So we did that for a few months. And so we created, I mean, you can imagine, you started a business. So that very first list we did was super long.
A mile long.
Yeah.
And so when we would do it, we would put, okay, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to get a logo. We need to figure out what equipment's going to work best. We need to figure out platforms that we're going to post on. So we'd select, 4 or 5 items, assign them. That week we'd get them done, and next week they're done. And so you get to assign 5 more items or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we started doing that in like October.
Right.
Wow.
I remember. Yeah. So
you
started.
guys are a year.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a year.
Yeah. Well, and then we also started doing mock episodes. So we got the equipment. We had a couple of friends that were over, so we interviewed them and we had them on the podcast. We just kind of wanted to get the feel and get the nerves out. But more importantly, I think that we realized that some of our viewers or our listeners come from Apple Podcast or where they can't see us or they won't watch us. And we wanted to be some sort of conversationalist to keep it interesting, because with the cameras rolling, we can be animated, we can crack jokes, and we can kind of sell the jokes a little better and make them feel included. But if they're listening to us, it's kind of a different environment. And I feel like we all did. So I was being interviewed and they all 3 interviewed me, and we all rotated for 4 different episodes to try to get that feel down, which was something that I just realized while you were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget about some of that.
I know, right?
Because, we were committed like crazy at the beginning. Dude. We were recording till like 2 a.m, going to work the next day. Like, promotional week was a grind. Because it's just it's a new thing. Being on social media is a little weird too.
Yeah.
You understand that a little bit with birdies and stuff, but social media is just such a
Beast.
interesting realm. Like with the algorithms and trying to boost yourself and doing all that.
Posting times and most interactive that you can get for different kind of content.
Yep.
It's
And I mean, you obviously can watch the best to see how they do it, like Joe Rogan or Mr. Beast, like those kind of guys, and try to implement some of what they do. But you have to have your own swag too, because if you just copy, then it's like, I already see this every week.
And I see it
Yeah.
with someone that's better, right? Because
Yeah.
you're just starting out. So it's like, this person's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Gonna watch them.
Well, and that's the thing, because I know if you probably looked at Birdies when you started versus where it's at now, there's some things that you probably improved or you liked, and there's probably even some stuff that you want to keep improving. But that's how we feel with the podcast, and that's how it is with any business, right? Is that first year is rough.
Oh yeah, and really hearing all of this, so I want to ask, because I was trying to find out how long you've actually been doing this, right? And it's not just how long you've been posting, but so a year. Now look back, and this is what I think is so cool, and I want to touch on something after this, but look back individually outside the pod. Look at yourself as, just yourself, or do you feel like you're better just overall? Like you're a better person, you're better at, because you've had to learn these skills to evaluate yourself, evaluate your peers, and work on certain things. And so overall as a person, do you feel like you've improved in the last year outside of the pod?
Yes, 100%. I think in aspects that I didn't know needed improvement too, like socialization. I feel like I can, like having a conversation with somebody out of the blue, with coworkers, people that I don't really know, and get to know them. I think that was something that was lacking. Even my friendship with Vil, because when we first started this, we barely really knew each other.
Yep.
Seen each other a few times.
We knew the other 2 guys.
Right.
He grew up with them. I worked with them.
Right. So they were kind of the bridge between us two. And I mean, like, just developing that in a sense, and then pushing that into work life, my home relationship, family relationships. I think that really did
This has helped me get out of my shell. Another thing this has helped me with is to speak honest and open and not feel ashamed of my opinion. Because there's been times growing up where I'm like, I'm just not going to say anything because it's irrelevant or I don't want people to know. But I think we did an episode on mental health, and that was a huge breaking point for me to be like, okay, if I'm going to tell people on camera that I've had depression, I've had anxiety at certain moments in my life, then there's no fear to withhold anything now.
Yeah.
And so being more of a conversationalist, being more open and honest to the world, like don't be ashamed of who I am. Those things have improved dramatically since we started doing this.
That is cool to hear. And so hearing that, it just makes it more fun to bring this up. But this is something I tell my friends in sales. I got a buddy that sells solar down in Texas, and we'll get on a call once in a while when maybe he's not sold anything that week or whatever it be. But it's fun to hear the progress outside of the business, right? Because when we can get, what's the word I'm looking for, obsessed with our individual improvement, then maybe the business isn't doing so well. We're still working on building that. We're still working on pivoting correctly and helping that grow. But or in sales, in solar sales, maybe you're not getting the sale, but every time you give that pitch, if you're focused on the fact that you're getting better,
Yep.
you're going to win, right? And so I love looking back at before you guys started to now and talking about being more open. I mean, people go to therapy to try to be more open, and you've learned how to be more open by being an entrepreneur, by starting a podcast, having some serious episodes. Obviously, you guys have a lot of fun on this episode or on this pod, but like if you can learn to get obsessed about the individual improvement and not obsessed about the money, you will time and time again beat the person that's obsessed about the money, because you're going to stop looking at the business. What's this building? What's this giving me money wise? Are we profitable? I'll tell you, Birdies, I mean, multiple months this year, we're not profitable. So it's like when you stop obsessing about that, or if you're not selling, when you stop obsessing about how much money have I made, and you really start looking back and getting so excited. When I was hit with a problem and I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle this with Birdies? And then I get through it, I realized I was getting better and better and better at problem solving, at putting out fires. And it was like at handling emotional things that used to be emotional to me, handling them much better and being able to not let it affect my regular life. And that got me way excited to be like, oh, Birdies could fail. Birdies could burn to the ground and be no more. And I will not regret doing any of it because I feel like I have improved so much. And so I guess all I'm saying is I think it's awesome to hear from other entrepreneurs, totally different side of things that people on your pod don't get to see. They don't get to know who you were before the podcast. They think you just come and record this and you're good. No, there's so much work put into it. But like, whether it's whatever we deem a success or not, mm-hmm. it's been successful. You took 4 guys and like you've improved. So anyone out there that's looking to start anything business wise, get obsessed on the improvement, on the individual improvement. Don't look too much at how the business is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even with you said Birdies has had a few slow months and we haven't made a dime.
Yeah.
We're in the hole.
Yeah, we are negative doing this.
Not that we haven't made money. We are not.
Me and my wife have talked about that. Like, okay, is it worth it? And then I like you said, I reflect on who I was before I started this. So I'm like, okay, I've improved in so many extra areas. There's other things in the future of my life that I want to do, and these are helping me build some of those skills. And I'm like you said, even if this burns and we never get famous, we never blow up, we don't make a cent off of this, it's like, well, I learned all these skills along the way that this isn't a waste of time.
Absolutely.
To me.
Yep. And if your mentality can be that always, then I think this is going to end up being successful, right? Because all of a sudden this doesn't matter as much. Everything outside of it you're focused on, hey, yeah, things don't look great here, but individually, man, you're in the hole right now, but you look at how much progress you've made personally, you get excited about that personal progress, and it's like, oh yeah, well worth it.
It's like paying for school to me.
Totally.
You're literally
and
just
it's way
paying,
cheaper.
Yeah. I didn't pay tuition to learn these skills that we're learning right now.
I'm in the hole there too.
But, so no, I think it's been a great experience, and I'm glad that we got to bring you on and see your side of things. I know business it's a tricky realm.
Yeah.
So complex. You dive into business, you could attack it from 1,000 different angles, and there's just so many different points of view and different strategies. So, but I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah,
this has been fun.
I've been waiting for that text for a year now. Just kidding.
Since we started.
I've been trying to drop subtle hints when we were hanging out. Like, hey, haven't had me on there yet. Just kidding. No, I was pumped when you text me. I love what you guys are doing here. It's cool to see, but what I love more is hearing about the backside of things, because people don't get it.
No.
So
unless you're an entrepreneur, it's tough to see that backside. Even employees, right? Employees are like, "Oh, my boss just has it easy," and it's like, well,
totally.
You see one side.
Yeah, and it's a very skewed side. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we only took one cup this entire episode, but let's take one more cup. Let's wrap it up. Daniel, again, want to say thank you.
Happy to be here, guys.
Okay, we're going to wrap this episode up. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Check out Birdies Golf. It's dope. But yeah, love you guys. We'll check you guys later.